Hello, welcome back to my channel. I haven't done like a sit down video with you guys in a while, and I'm gonna be so honest. I have you guys on the camera on my little tripod on top of 3 cups on top of a table that's very shaky. Do you feel that shake? I'm so sorry. I'm gonna try my utmost not to shake anything. I wanted to record this with like a table, and my room is just a bit of a mess right now. I hate to admit that. I'm working through it. I'm working on it a lot. Hi, how are you guys doing? I hope this is the start of more regular content again. But that's it for an intro about me. I wanted to talk more about me, but I was doing some cleaning lately and going through my bedside table because I'm getting a new bedside table. I actually have it. I have to put it together today, which it's from IKEA, and I'm so excited. It looked so lovely. So I'm so excited for it. But while I was organizing or going through my stuff in my bedside table, I found this, which is, well, it's taped together, so we're gonna have to do a little bit of surgery to get it apart. But these are book stats I put together in 2014, so 11 years ago. And this was the end of 2014, so it's reflecting on 2014. And I haven't really looked through it too much. There might also be, there's another chart in here. What are you? What year are you? Uncertain. I used to do these like analog charts and like little compilations for myself because I had quite the restricted access to the computer, and I don't even know if Goodreads was around at that time. Restricted to the internet, I should say, because obviously I made this on a computer. But I did this like, you know, homegrown social media thing, basically. And I thought it would be really fun to look back at and reflect on me in 2014. I would have been 17. No, 18. I think I'm doing that math correctly. I kind of was like glancing through it a little bit and was surprised because in my head, you know, this is 11 years ago, and I'm thinking 11 years ago doesn't feel as long as it was, but looking at the books that I did, I was like, whoa, I thought I had read that in like middle school, but no, I was reading it in like high school. So anyway, I wanted to go through with you, talk about it, reflect on it. I'm also not planning to keep these papers. I have no reason to, right? I'm doing this to kind of immortalize them. I've been very much in a cleaning mood where I don't want to say I'm like purging stuff, but I'm really trying to look at things that I have kept because I'm a little bit of a pack rat. And I'm trying to look at these things and be like, would I move with it? And if the answer is no, I'm just getting rid of it, which has been a good challenge. We'll do a little bit of surgery real quick to see exactly what we're working with. Oh, you know what? Maybe I need scissors. Oh, wait. We ripped it. So we have, oh my goodness. Well, this one's easy to rip apart, actually. We have page 1, which is the top 10 titles of 2014. Thank you, past me, for doing this. I'm gonna fold over the tape so it's not constantly sticking. And then we have page 2, which is another chart. It's the top 13. This is definitely a different year. I have no idea what year though. You know what, if it's top 13, it's probably 2013, right? That would make sense. That's exciting. I didn't even realize that until just now. Okay. And then I have page 3, which is just a picture of Allegiant. We'll talk about it. And I have another chart, which must be 2012. Holy shit, what? And this piece of paper is, I think I glued it. Why the fuck did I glue it? Okay. I glued it to the mid-season book chart of that same year. And then I have, oh my God, what do I have? I have, also these are glued together. Why did I do this? I have the publishing announcement for the Dark Artifices series by Cassandra Clare. Okay, I don't know why I printed and kept that. And then I have, I think it's a list of books to buy and or read. So we will round out with that. And we will start with the top 10 of 2014. So I was 18 in 2014. I was, at this point, I would have been a senior in high school, but the chart looks like. I read 6 books in January. This is pretty solid. Hold on, I want to compare. How much did I read this January? I read 8 books in January of this year. So actually not too far off, especially because I was in high school at the time. And being in high school and having a full-time job, I feel like are very similar time commitments. I peaked with 10 books a month in June, August, September, October, and December. So that's compared to this year. In June, I read 10 books. Okay. That's actually really cool. Okay. And then I don't know what the fuck was happening in July. I maybe one, it looks like. Maybe I was in like, I was working that summer, so maybe that just dragged. That's crazy, only 1 book. This July I read 9 books. So, beating my past self, no. And then August, September, and October were all 10 books. So August, 11 books this year. September, 8 books. And then October, I'm filming this on the last day of October, 8 books. It'll probably stay at 8. What would I read last December? 14 books. So I'm gonna be so real. I have maintained a fairly consistent amount of reading, or at least finishing books, over the past 11 years. There was college, I didn't read as much because I was having a lot of mental health crises, but outside of those periods, that's kind of really exciting to know. I think what I did here was I wrote down all of my favorites from the year, and then I highlighted and talked about all 10 of the top 10. So we're just gonna go through all of them that I loved. So Riyria Revelations, Riyria Chronicles, which at that time only the first 2 I think would have been out. The Percy Jackson series, which that must have been a reread because I was reading them. I remember reading them at my elementary school on the playground. So I think that was a reread. Cinder and Scarlet, those are by Marissa Meyer. Wither by Lauren DeStefano. The Elite by Kiera Cass, it must be. City of Heavenly Fire. The Collector? I don't know what that book is. We think Storygraph is gonna know, or do we think Goodreads will be better? Oh my god! This one. That one. Did anyone else read this? I've forgotten about this book. The Collector by Victoria Scott is the first in the Dante Walker series. I don't think I ever read any more. And I definitely got this at the library, but description. He makes good girls bad. Dante Walker is flippin' awesome, and he knows it. His good looks, killer charm, and stellar confidence have made him one of hell's best, a soul collector. His job is simple: weed through humanity and label those round rears with a big red good or bad stamp. Old Saint Nick gets the good guys, and he gets the fun ones. Bag and tag. Stealing souls is nothing personal. Dante's an equal opportunity collector, and he doesn't want it any other way. But he'll have to adjust because Bossman has given him a new assignment. Collect Charlie Cooper's soul within 10 days. Dante doesn't know why Bossman wants Charlie, nor does he care. The assignment means one thing to him, and that's a permanent ticket out of hell. But after Dante meets the quirky, nerd alert chick he's come to collect. Whoa, okay. The quirky, nerd alert chick he's come to collect. He realizes his assignment will test his abilities as a collector and uncover emotions deeply buried. Oh, I don't remember any of that, but I do remember eating this up and fucking loving it. That's crazy. I am gonna mark this as read on Storygraph because why fucking not? It's so of its time. Okay. American Gods. Ooh. Assassin's Curse, Green Arrow Quiver, the Throne of Glass series. Assassin's Curse. Oh, for some reason I was thinking that was part of Throne of Glass. That's probably by Cassandra Rose James? Is that her name? Wait. No, it's Cassandra Rose Clark. I was so close. I actually do have a copy of this still. The Assassin's Curse. I have a copy of this still. I would like to reread it. It's on my Kindle. I don't think like Kindle Unlimited was a thing at the time, but it was like a 99 cents audio or ebook or something. And I just remember it had like a bad beginning, but by the end I was like obsessed with it. So that was really good. Death Masks, Steelheart, Iron Trial, Hellblazer, Original Sins. I don't know if I ever read any other volumes of that, but I think that was when Constantine was, that live action TV show with what's his face was on. That was good. It got canceled too soon, but like he played the role really well. And you know what? I like that type of character. I mean, a fucking Death Mask is on here. This is Dresden Files. Incarnate. Is that by Jody Meadows? Yes! Oh my gosh! Yes, I do. I remember this one was, I think I physically owned this. I don't have it anymore. I got rid of a lot of books from high school, and I read a lot from the library, far more than I do now. This is about a world where everyone's a reincarnated soul, and then this new girl, she appears and she's not a reincarnated soul, I think is what it was about. I don't remember if I kept reading that series. That's an interesting concept though. That was really big on BookTube at the time. Falling Kingdoms by Megan Rhodes. That was really good. Time's Edge. Sounds familiar. Oh, The Chronos Files by Risa Walker. I want to say there's some aspect of a heist to that series. I remember writing a review on Amazon.com talking about how I wished the protagonist and this other side character, which was, they're both women, would hook up. And someone was like, what do you mean? They're straight. I was like, well, that's why I said I wish. The Lumateer Chronicles and The Thief. That must be by Megan Whalen Turner, which I would like to reread that. Of the top 10, I did rank them. I remember July I was on vacation. I'm sorry, because I read American Gods in July that year. And American Gods is the top of this top 10 of 2014. And I said the most immersive and entrancing book from one of the most prolific authors. Yeah, so I read this. It was my first time being out of the country. I was on a trip, which we could pay for through my school, but it wasn't like, the trip wasn't through my school, but one of the teachers there put it on. I remember reading this in Paris. So it was a great trip. And at the time, this book was really important to me. The Lumateer Chronicles by Melina Marchetta. I still think these are some of the best YA novels, YA fantasy novels ever written. And I wrote here, possibly the best fantasy series of all time. It makes you go along for a ride whether you want to or not. These are so good. I would love at some point to reread and dedicate some sort of video to them, because the way how do I say this? You're always going to be surprised by characters' actions, but not in a way that makes it like, where it's like, oh, they're not making sense, they're out of character, in a way that you're like, holy shit, that makes so much sense for this character. I just couldn't have predicted that. It's really good. Ryua Revelations. It's still a favorite, and its third place award should not be seen as a demotion. Rather, it went against the major players and still came up at the very top. I must have reread it that year. Green Arrow Quiver. Just amazing. Best Green Arrow graphic novel ever. No one can convince me otherwise. I was really on a tear with Green Arrow. I think that was 2014 when season 2 of Arrow was coming out, which was my favorite show at one time. I still have a really soft spot for the first 2 seasons. 2014 would be season 3, the last okay season. Okay. Throne of Glass series, Heir of Fire was everything, and then some. They're my guilty pleasure series. I was reading them as they were coming out. I don't really platform them now for reasons. City of Heavenly Fire, fantastic finale. Was that the last one? Why did I think that was the 4th one in that series? Okay. Death Masks, best Dresden book yet. I think I might have stopped where I was at in the Dresden Files at that point. And I've read them all since. Yeah, I was reading them in high school. Loved them. A librarian recommended them. She was so right. Wither by Lauren DeStefano. Such a surprise. So very good. I am actually, I don't know if you saw, they're republishing them with new covers coming out in 2026. And they're beautiful, and I have pre-ordered them, and I'm going to reread them. I really liked Wither. It is this dystopian, and it's kind of dark because the lifespan of people has decreased so much, and I think there are fewer men. There are like multiple women are married to men to continue the population, and it follows a girl who's been engaged and married off to this guy. And it's a YA dystopian, so you know she is getting out. Iron Trial, that twist at the end was so good, it's unfair. That was by Julie Kagawa. I don't remember that book. The first 4 books, and I still think book 4 in that series Oh wait, is Iron Trial one of the spin-offs or is that one of the main series? Maybe I'm confusing myself. I thought that was part of the spin-off. I thought that was like book 7. Oh my god. I'm so stupid. I was obsessed. Okay, I'm sorry. The table keeps shaking. It's because I'm leaning on it. I'm so wrong. The Iron Trial is this. I only ever read book 1. The twist at the end was really good. I'm never gonna continue it though. As an Assassin's Curse, I wrote, another surprise. It's a shame the publishing company went bankrupt. I forgot about that. Oh, I forgot about that. Sorry, I'm gonna really try not to shake the table. Anyway, I forgot that the publishing company went under, which is why the edition I have of Assassin's Curse is it's a bind up with the second book, and then it's a bind up with the 2 that were at that time unpublished. I should reread those before I recommend them though, because I don't know if they hold up. In 2014 they were really good. Okay, so 2013, we're assuming it's 2013. I started the year pretty weak with 4 in January, 4 in March, and this in 2013 I actually peaked in July with 14. Holy shit. And had 13 in December. That's crazy. So we'll do the same thing because I structured it the same way. I wrote out all my favorites and then I did the top 13, and I have such smaller notes on them. It's like almost nothing, but I guess I had to fit 13 in. So I don't know why I couldn't just change the font size, but we're okay. You know what? Also, now that I think about it, I probably, for when I was like writing out all my favorites, I probably did do these roughly in the order I read them. So Graceling, Fire, and Bitter Blue, which I reread Graceling 1 year ago. I'm sorry, I just leaned on the table again. 1 or 2 years ago, and it was not what I remembered. It was just as good as I remembered, but good in a way I could appreciate differently as an adult. And I want to reread I want to reread Fire and Bitter Blue, and then I want to read the 2 that I haven't read. Daughter of Smoke and Bone and Days of Blood and Starlight. I haven't since read the whole trilogy. It's another trilogy I'd like to reread. The Beautiful Creature series. Ooh. I still stand by Beautiful Creatures is a fantastic book and probably one of my favorite YA books, especially of this era. This series just goes downhill. It's really a shame because book 1 is fantastic and so atmospheric. And I was just talking about this with someone. I love the film. The Beautiful Creatures film is amazing. Okay. Clockwork Angel, The Raven Boys, and The Dream Thief. Do you guys know my opinion on the Raven Cycle? It's one of my favorite series of all time. A Need So Beautiful series. I don't know what that is. Oh my god. I was obsessed. These were so good. These are by Suzanne Young, who has she written something else? I feel like she has. She wrote The Program. I feel like people know that series. I remember reading this series on vacation that year. So probably in July, during that peak, I probably was reading these guys. They are about, I don't remember if it was like angel stuff going on, like star-crossed lovers, reincarnated souls. And so we get, it's 2 books plus a novella. And we get like the reincarnation in that one, I believe. This is so funny. The first one, the tags on Storygraph have A Need So Beautiful as lighthearted, slow-paced, and book 2, A Want So Wicked, as emotional, fast-paced. That's really fucking funny. I am so willing to bet these do not hold up. The Host by Stephenie Meyer, I actually did. That's probably controversial, but I really liked The Host, and I really liked the Host movie as well. So, The Unbecoming and the Evolution of Mara Dyer, Eternity Cure. This one was by Julie Kagawa. This is the 3rd in that vampire series she wrote, which I would like to reread because I remember those being fantastic and some of the best vampire books I'd read. It's like dystopian vampire. I would, from what I remember, hazard to even put it in the same like vein of vampire storytelling as Empire of Vampire. So I don't know if they hold up though. But I also really liked how vampires worked in that series. Spirit, this was probably the one by Bridget Kemmerer. I was really into the Elemental series by her. I don't think I've read anything since, but those were really good. They were fun. They also kind of were like Hallmarky romances at the same time. They were self-published maybe, or source books. The Selection. So this had to have been because I read The Elite and put it on here. And I actually never read the one. I never finished it. I'm never gonna go back. I don't think I have my copies anymore. I'm pretty sure I don't. At the time, I ate them up. Throne of Glass was a reread, and Crown of Midnight, which book two. I used to read every book in that series every year in the lead up to whatever the most recent release would be. Mary's Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. That was a vacation read. I remember reading that in Florida. This lullaby. What was that? Is that by... Oh my god! That was by Sarah Dessen. Oh gosh, does she still write books? I've always thought of her as the Nicholas Sparks of YA. I had a friend who was really into Sarah Dessen books, so I read that one. I think I really liked it. It made it on this list. Ink? Was that the one? There was this book that Kensington Teen, I think, published about a girl who went to Japan. They were like that's what I was thinking about, and that was definitely it. Oh my god. Ink by Amanda Sun. This is part of the Paper God series, and I guess there were 3. I only read Ink. Oh my god. Ink is in their blood. On the heels of a family tragedy, Katie Green moves halfway around the world to live with her aunt in Shizuoka, Japan. She doesn't know the language, she can barely hold a pair of chopsticks, and she can't seem to get the hang of taking her shoes off whenever she enters a building. When Katie meets aloof but gorgeous Tomohiro, the star of the school's kendo team, she's intrigued by him and a little scared. His tough attitude seems meant to keep her at a distance, and when they're near each other, strange things happen. Pens explode, ink drips from nowhere, and unless Katie is seeing things, drawings come to life. Somehow Tomo is connected to the Kami, powerful ancient beings who once ruled Japan, and as feelings develop between Katie and Tomo, things begin to spiral out of control. The wrong people are starting to ask questions, and if they discover the truth, no one will be safe. I remember really enjoying that one. I also remember there's like one scene in particular where, and I don't know if this was real technology, but to share cell phone contacts, they like touched cell phones together. I thought that was really cool and impressive. And I was really taken, I think, by the setting. Bloodlines by Rochelle Mead. Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. Oh, that book is so good. I still have that. Oh yeah, okay, look, more Dresden Files. Stormfront, Full Moon, and Grave Peril. That was so kind of me to include Stormfront and Full Moon on here because I actually did not like those that much when I read them, but I loved Grave Peril so much. The Bone Season, that was one of the first adult books I ever read. Oh my god. And that was actually at the time it was being advertised as new adult because that was like a thing. Hounded by, I can't think of his name, but it's the first in the Iron Druid series. Raya Revelation, so I did read it the year after. Allegiance. Hey, I guess that's why I printed out this. Okay. That's also crazy of me to include it in like favorites here to make even the short list because I actually do fucking hate that book. Iron Trader. Was that different than Iron Trial? Yeah, Iron Trader I think is the Julie Kagawa one. Is that book 6? Oh man. Yeah, this is just an ugly cover, so sorry. Book 4 in the Iron Face series is one of the best YA books ever written though. I haven't read in years, but Phoenix Island, that was going to be adapted or was very roughly adapted into a show with the guy who played Sawyer in Lost. No Place Like Oz. That's the little prequel to Dorothy Must Die, and that little prequel was fantastic. I fell so much in love with it, and then I read Dorothy Must Die and thought it was just such garbage. Time Bound. That's the first book. That one is the one that predates Time's Edge. And Die For Me by Amy Plum. This series I kind of want to reread as well. It is about, they're called Revenants. They are kind of like sexy zombies. Ooh, fun. And they are in Paris and it's really good. I really loved these books at the time. This was 2013, so I was really deep into them. And I would like to reread them to see if they hold up, which they probably don't. Nostalgia is still there. Okay, so the top 13. I'm actually gonna go backwards. I'm gonna do 13 to 1. So you know what my number 1 was in 2013. I would like to remind you, 17 at the time. I was a junior in high school. Or was I a sophomore? Whatever, somewhere around there. So number 13 was The Host, and I wrote An Enchanting Love Story. Yeah, sure. I don't know if I'd still like it today. Number 12 is this lullaby, which the note I wrote was my first Sarah Dessen. I think I read like one other after this. But I do remember actually buying this book at a Books A Million. I remember that. Number 11 has the Dresden Files and the Iron Druid series, the books I'd read, tied. And I wrote my new love for urban fantasy, which is true. That is kind of when I found my love for it. Because up until that point, I had just been reading what was like akin to like paranormal romance. There was really this divide. It probably still exists, but I think it's a little different now. But it really was like paranormal romance was if a woman writes it for children, not necessarily for children, but yeah, there was kind of a divide, at least in online. And that's definitely not true because like Patricia Breaks, Rochelle Mead, I would say those are urban fantasy. Shauna McGuire. Anyway, The Selection comes in at number 10, another one that takes over completely. I do remember sitting on our couch and reading this, just like unbroken. That was great. And number 9 is No Place Like Oz, and the note I left was dying for Dorothy Must Die. Ugh, well, it was really bad. So sorry, Sam. 8 is Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. A Rope Took Over. That book's really fantastic. It's very atmospheric. Number 7 is Julie Kagawa. Eternity Cure and Iron Trader Cliffhangers Left Me Breathless. So Eternity Cure must be the second one in that series. So sorry for being wrong. Number 6 is Days of Blood and Starlight, and I wrote epic. Where'd it go? Epic. Number 5 is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I wrote sweeps you up and doesn't spit you out until the end. I loved that book. I never continued with the series. I never planned to. I did see the film also, and the film just killed whatever spark I had left, even though I know the film was a bad adaptation. And number 4, I have the Mara Dyer series, and I wrote dark and sexy and worth reading every time. I will never regret these books, and I don't own them anymore, but I would like to return to them, I think. Number 3, I have Raya Revelations, and I wrote Amazing on Every Level. Is that not where it was here? Why did I call it a demotion? It's not a demotion. It literally stayed stable. Okay. I love this series. If you are looking to get into fantasy, I strongly recommend the Raya Revelations by Michael J. Sullivan as a great starting point. He is a bit of a bigger author now, I think, after the Tales of the First Empire books, but Raya has my whole heart. Number 2, The Bone Season. I wrote A Perfect Story. I've not read the edited version, so. And in number 1, I have Clockwork Angel, and I wrote A Perfect Ending, which I do still stand by. Allegiant. Look, it's O'Hare. I live in the Chicago area, and so like the series was like, I think even more popular out here. I really loved the first 2 books, and I read them not long after the second book had come out, and then, like I like read them and couldn't put them down, right? I was like obsessed. And then when this one was coming out, I reread the first, well, I tried to reread the first one, and I found it so bad and so hard to get through that I put it down. I was like, no, I'll just jump into Allegiant. I'm just not feeling Divergent. And then I read Allegiant, and I can't believe, like I said, that it made it onto that short list because I hate this book. The ending is one of the worst endings I've ever read, and I swore off Veronica Roth. I have since kind of gone back on that. I have another Veronica Roth book. I have When Among Crows, and I think it's been enough time that I am willing to try it. Okay. Then we have, oh my God. Oh no, that's the mid-season. We'll do the, no, we'll just work in the order of the pages. So this is, I think this really must be 2013. No, I'm sorry, 2012. I think it must be because it's stuff that like comes before this. 2012, oh my God. What a year that was, especially for publishing. Everything was like dystopian. Everything was YA. BookTube was such a different place. So I peaked that year with 11 books in January and August. Oh, look at that. I broke out the summer in case I didn't know when the summer was. And in August, I had 10 books. And then my lowest months were October with 2 and February with 3. This is structured the same way. So thank you, past Sam. Soul Keepers / Weaving Destiny. Soul Keepers was by Rachel Vincent, I think. I don't know what Weaving Destiny is though. Is that also part of it? Oh my God, no, it's this. So, oh my god, and Weaving Destiny was book 2. I like vaguely remember this. It doesn't even have a description. It's by G.P. Ching, sorry. Okay, here we go. Sometimes the end is just the beginning in book one of six in the best-selling Soulkeeper series. When 15-year-old Jacob Blau is pulled from the crumpled remains of his mother's car, no one can explain why he was driving or why the police can't find his mother's body. A beautiful and mysterious neighbor offers to use her unique abilities to help him find his mom. In exchange, she requires Jacob to train as a soul keeper, a protector of human souls. He agrees to her demands, desperate for any clue to the mystery of his mother's disappearance. But soon Jacob finds himself trapped in a web of half-truths and questions her motives for helping him. Let's look at the description of book 2 as well. Book 2, Weaving Destiny. Destiny is a fabric woven from our choices. Choose widely. Malini Gupta thought Jacob Blau was her destiny, but after months of failing to decipher how she fits into the Soul Keepers, frustration threatens to tear their relationship apart. And it doesn't help that a new Soul Keeper named Mara is ready to stop time itself to earn Jacob's love. When Malini faces her worst fears and even death, she learns a funny thing about destiny. Fate is a tapestry of choices, and she has the power to weave hers. I don't remember what these books are about, but I liked them. They were probably free or cheap on Kindle. And then I read the Hunger Games trilogy. I remember so distinctly, everyone was like reading this at the same time, and it was a lot of fun to just like know everyone was like having the shared experience. And then I remember I was like sitting out of gym class one day and I was reading Catching Fire. It was great. Unearthly, I'm sure this is the one by Cynthia Hand. I am planning to reread these soon. Linger and Forever by Maggie Stiefvater. Oh, I loved the Wolves of Mercy Falls books when I was younger, and I tried to reread them. I reread Shiver sophomore year of college, and it did not hold up, which is such a shame because I love Maggie Stiefvater. A Monster Calls, Patrick Ness and Siobhan Vivian, right? That's who had started. Siobhan Dowd, I'm so sorry. Siobhan Dowd. Yeah, that book's really good. I read that for a book club. Clockwork Angel and Clockwork Prince. The Halo trilogy, this is by Alexandra Adornetto. I have kind of been going down an Angel rabbit hole lately, and I kind of want to reread a bunch of these. And I do want to reread that series. I do, however, remember how it ended, and I thought it was a terrible ending. Just so bad. So, I don't know. Immortal Rules, that's by Julie Kagawa. City of Lost Souls, Storm and Spark by Bridget Kemmer. Dark Divine trilogy by Brie Despain. Was this Werewolves, I think? I think this is Werewolves. The False Prince. That was really good. Okay. Diversion and Insurgent. I loved those at the time. I really did. The Pledge. That sounds so vaguely familiar as well. Kimberly Durting. That seems right. It's a dystopian. Yes. Okay. In the violent country of Ludania, the language you speak determines what class you... Oh my God. This was so good. I remember reading this and sitting in the hammock over the summer. Oh my God. I got this from the library, and I remember... Oh my God. I remember reading it, being out in the hot sun, and like getting chills. I was so into it. Okay. Oh, okay. Anyway, the language you speak determines what class you are, and there are harsh punishments if you forget your place. Looking a member of a higher class in the eyes can result in immediate execution. 17-year-old Charlina, Charlie for short, can understand... That was like a name at that time, wasn't it? Charlie. Everyone was a Charlie. Can understand all languages. A dangerous ability she's been hiding her whole life. Her only place of release is the drug-filled underground club scene where people go to shake off the oppressive rules of the world they live in. There she meets a beautiful and mysterious boy who speaks a language she's never heard, and her secret is almost exposed. Through a series of violent upheavals, it becomes clear that Charlie herself is the key to forcing out the oppressive power structure of her kingdom. Oh my God. Kimberly Durting. Did you write something else? The Body Finder. Oh my God. Yes. That series was big too. Okay. The Vampire Academy series. I love the series. I, again, kind of similar to Lumitere Chronicles, plan to reread and talk about these series or the series. It is the character development in there, I think, is like the best character development I've ever read. I'm trying to get someone I know to read them as well. Throne of Glass. Starcross by Josephine Angelini. I think she's expanded that series. It was like a Greek mythology inspired thing, but it was also inspired by, or not inspired, like it's like paranormal, but with like Greek mythology aspects. And I think there's this like, they're reincarnations of characters from the Iliad, which I love. Raised by Wolves. Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Oh my God. I forgot. I forgot about this book. Oh my god, adopted by the alpha of a werewolf pack after a rogue wolf brutally killed her parents right before her eyes. I was always more of a werewolf girl, by the way, than a vampire girl. I loved vampire shit so much, and now I'm much more into vampires, but I really loved werewolf stuff. It's because of Maggie Stiefvater. Brynn knows only pack life and the rigid social hierarchy that controls it. That doesn't mean that she's averse to breaking a rule or two. When her curiosity gets the better of her and she discovers Chase, a new teen locked in a cage in her guardian's basement, and witnesses him turn into a wolf before her eyes, the horrific memories of her parents' murder returns. Brynn becomes obsessed with getting her question answered, and Chase is the only one who can provide the information she needs. But in her drive to find the truth, will Brynn push too far beyond the constraints of her pack, forcing her to leave behind her friends, her family, and the identity she's shaped? Totally forgot about that book. Lost Prince, that's also by Julie Kagawa. Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Other, I think that's also by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Maybe? No, I think I would have included them on the same line. Other. Do you remember that other? Do you remember that werewolf series by Andrea something? That was like Wolfbane. Those were good covers. Other. Do you know what's crazy is that there have been no Maximum Ride books on here. I was like obsessed with Maximum Ride. I don't think I'm gonna find this book. It's too vague. I'll try to Google real quick. Well, I don't know what that one was. How good could it have been, right? Wildfire. This was, I think they were reincarnations of deities from across mythology, I think. A Study in Scarlet. Oh, yeah, the Holmes story. Okay, we're just gonna go now in order with all the notes. So I do think I put number 1 at the top, but we're just gonna go in order from 1 to 10 or whatever. However I did this. 1, 2, 12. 12. Okay, more proof this was 2012. So, in the top spot, The Hunger Games will always hold a spot on nearly everyone's shelves and will probably be heralded as a classic someday. Rightly so, these are amazing. Yep, I was right. I'm still right. The series is forever. This was my second attempt at Clockwork Angel and my first with Clockwork Prince, but it was so worth it. I'm still debating on whether or not they're better than the Mortal Instruments. They are. Speaking of Mortal Instruments, the newest one, City of Lost Souls, was a heartbreaker, much better than the last one. I remember sitting on my floor and reading this one. Yeah. Storm and Spark are the first in a new and amazing series that makes it into my top 3 series and authors. That's crazy because I have not read a Bridget Kemmerer since. I do have Warrior Princess Assassin, which I want to read. Divergent was a 5-star book, as was Insurgent, but Insurgent was a complete game changer. Okay. I don't think those would hold up if I read them again. Another attempt, although this time I already knew I loved the books. The Vampire Academy series couldn't get better. Excited to read the spinoff. I think I only read the first one. Maybe the first 2 in the spinoff. Throne of Glass was a great fantasy. Realistic, too. Like it made just a fucking, what is it, Tastemaker. Back in 2012. Read it. I would have you know I had pre-ordered that book because it sounded good. Starcross started off on a bad note, but when I got past the first couple chapters, this one really reminded me of Mortal Instruments and Twilight in a good way. Raised by Wolves may be my favorite werewolf novel ever. So far, that's insane. I don't remember anything about that book. So I'm gonna say my favorite werewolf book probably is still Shiver, even though I didn't think it held up. I just can't think of another like werewolf book that I can still like recall in any detail. Am I blanking? I'm sure maybe there is something. Obsidian is about aliens. Who'd have thought that I enjoy this as much as I do? Looking forward to whatever comes next. And the main character is a book blogger. Yay. I wonder if that's the same in, because I know it's been republished. I wonder if that stayed the same. I'd be curious. Another second time around book, again, Wildfire, was so worth it. Okay, I don't remember reading that twice. My newest obsession, Sherlock Holmes, made me pick up the whole collection, volume 1, and the first novel made it onto the list. Starting Scarlet was surprisingly easy to read and incredibly enjoyable. I do love that. That was my Sherlock era. Now, let's look at the mid-year book chart, mid-season book chart. The books I had like pulled for the shortlist at that point were The Soul Keepers and Weaving Destiny, the Hunger Games trilogy, Unearthly, Linger and Forever, A Monster Calls, Clockwork Angel and Clockwork Prince, Halo and Hades, which are part of that Halo trilogy by Alexandra Adornetto, Immortal Rules, City of Lost Souls, Iron Thorn, Storm, the Dark Divine trilogy, Firelight. Ooh, that was that Sophie Jordan book that just recently got republished. It's about dragons. The first book was good. I remember the other 2 going downhill. And The False Prince. Okay. And the book reviews I left. The Hunger Games trilogy was just as fantastic as everyone said and made me into a true die-hard fan. My favorite is Catching Fire, mostly because I love Finnick. I'm so real for that. A Monster Calls was another book club book, the last in fact, and it was such a surprise. It looks like a dark, scary, haunted even book, but is completely not. It sweeps you off your feet and takes you into a heartbreaking story. I would argue with my past self and say it's actually quite the haunting book. This isn't the first time I read Clockwork Angel, but I decided to give it another try after purchasing Clockwork Prince. Totally worth it, seeing as these just became my favorite things written by Cassandra Clare and my favorite love triangle. Top tier love triangle. Immortal Rules was completely different from Iron Fae, but also really good. Not so much love story as action adventure, but really awesome. It's kind of interesting to see that the way I write like quick little reviews hasn't really changed. This is how I write reviews on Goodreads still, kind of. City of the Lost Souls is amazing, the best in the series so far, and totally made up for Fallen Angels. Yeah, that book was not good. Iron Thorn, sorry, there's a bunch of squirrels running around with like nuts in their mouth. Iron Thorn never dragged and was unique in every aspect. Kind of long though, so I didn't read the sequel yet. Okay, it's not a long book. Okay. Storm just made its way onto my top 3 authors book series. Forever will hold a place in my heart. I don't know if I still have those. If I do, I should reread them. The False Prince was an audiobook I listened to in one day on the way home from vacation. It drags a little at the end, but was so fast otherwise and full of smart characters that you don't even mind. That one is really, really good. It's middle grade. I do recommend it. We have the publishing announcement. Bless her Dark Artifices. Okay. And then last but not least, thank you for sticking with me. I have this list of books I think to buy. I have them marked if I have them owned and read. So this is it. So we'll go through these. Unearthly, Hallowed, Boundless, the Unearthly trilogy by Cynthia Hand. I at this point in time had Unearthly and I had read it. I actually just got the Fairy Loot set. I wasn't going to, but it was a nostalgic book for me, so I did. And they're beautiful. So I will reread them anyways. So I actually have all 3 of those now. I don't think I'm going to be able to say that about a lot of the books on this list. I think I'm going to say mostly that I got rid of stuff. Delirium, Pandemonium, and Requiem, the Delirium trilogy by Lauren Oliver. I had owned and read Delirium at this point. I think I did read Pandemonium at some point. I don't like those though. I was never really much of a dystopian girly outside of like these like 3 years we're looking at, coincidentally. After that, I'm sick of them. I still don't really read them. There have been exceptions. Fable Before the End of the World, fantastic. Hunger Games still hold up, you know. Shatter Me and Unravel Me. I think those were the only 2 out at the time. I had owned and read Shatter Me. I think though that was a ebook, interestingly enough. And I didn't really like it and I never continued. Wither, Fever, and Sever, the Chemical Garden series by Lauren DeStefano. Wither, we talked about that already. And I don't have them anymore, but I'm going to own them again. Under the Never Sky and Through the Ever Night. Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. I owned them, but I don't remember if I ever read these. I feel like I did. Cinder and Scarlet, the first 2 in the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I do still own those. I actually have the original copies I read, and I have the new covers. Bloodlines and the Golden Lily and the Indigo Spell by Rochelle Mead. I had owned and read Bloodlines at this point, but I had not read the Golden Lily, but I owned it. That's the spin-off to Vampire Academy. Then I have, for some reason, crossed off. Why did I do that? Explain. I have The Body Finder, which I owned, and I know I read. Desires of the Dead, The Last Echo, and Dead Silence by Kimberly Durding. God, the Darkness Rising series by Kelly Armstrong. So The Gathering, The Calling, and The Rising. At this point, I had owned The Gathering and The Calling and only read The Gathering. I did read all 3 and I loved them. And then I did try to reread them years later and found they absolutely did not hold up. And I think I gave them to someone. They were really good at the time though. It was like these supernatural or paranormal people or creatures or something were like kept in a school or mental hospital or something. You know what? It was very House of Anubis coded. if you remember that show. Die for Me, Until I Die, and If I Should Die, the Revenant series by Amy Plum. We already talked about that. The Pledge, we talked about that. Star-Crossed, I hadn't bought or read either Dreamless or Goddess. Oh, but I can confirm though, because I had read The Pledge, which I just mentioned, and Star-Crossed, but I didn't own them, so they were both library books. Across the Universe, A Million Suns, Shades of Earth. This was the Across the Universe series by Beth Revis. I owned and read Across the Universe at the time, and I did not like that. Never continued. Shadow and Bone and Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. Oh my god. I hadn't actually read that book by then. Oh, baby Sam. I still have my copies. Yeah, I have my original copy. Well, not my original of book 1, because I had given that to my brother to read to try to get him to enjoy reading, and he didn't want to read. And when he didn't want to do something, he would break it. Still have the original cover, but it's not my original copy. The Selection and the Elite, I had read and owned. The Angel Fire series. Angel Fire, Wings of the Wicked, Shadows in the Silence by Courtney Allison Moulton. That sounds very familiar. I never read it, and I never owned it, it looks like. Were these Australian? Don't ask me why I think that. I don't know what I was thinking of. It wasn't this. I definitely did never read these though. Okay. My Soul to Take, My Soul to Save, My Soul to Keep, My Soul to Steal, If I Die, Before I Wake, With All My Soul, the Soul Screamer series by Rachel Vincent. That's what I was thinking of earlier when I was talking about the Soul Keepers and Weaving Destiny book. At that point, I had read and owned the first 2 and owned books 3 and 4 as well. I got those from a library sale. I remember that. A Legend and Prodigy by Marie Lu. I never bought or read those at this point. I think I did read Legend, and I didn't like it later on. Eve, Once and Rise by Anna Carey. What is this series? Oh, I like vaguely remember this. Very vaguely. Never read those, never owned them. Sweet Evil and Sweet Peril by Wendy Higgins. I was obsessed with these covers. Do you guys remember these covers? I was obsessed. I thought they looked so pretty. I never read them. I never owned them. Hereafter, Arise and Elegy by Tara Hudson. I vaguely remember these 2. So I never read that, never owned it. Tiger's Curse, Tiger's Quest, Tiger's Voyage, Tiger's Destiny, Tiger's Dream by Colleen Huck. Tiger's Curse, at this point when I had made this list, I only owned it. I did read it. It was so bad. Mask of the Red Death and Dance of the Red Death by Bethany Griffin. I didn't own or read those. Faded Echo and Mystic by Alison Noel. I didn't own or read those, but I did read Alison Noel's Immortal series. That was a vibe. It was just like a Twilight ripoff without vampires, but I did love them. I did love them. Daughter of Smoke and Bone and Days of Blood and Starlight I read and owned both of those. Carrier of the Mark, Shadow of the Mark by Lee Fallon. Couldn't tell you what those are. I have never heard of those. Well, I must have at some point, but oh my god, I do remember this. Yeah. Can you tell the like trend in like covers at that time based off what I've shown you? Goddess Test, Goddess Interrupted, and Goddess Inheritance by Amy Carter. I didn't read those either. I remember really, really wanting to, so I don't know why I never picked it up. I also, this is gonna be so controversial. This era of covers I do love. There we go. I absolutely like, I like people on covers. I like people on covers. There, I said it. And then last on here is Tempest, and I hand wrote that in, and I don't know who that's by. So that was fun. I had a lot of fun doing that. I have gone down quite the memory lane in doing this. There are so many books that I just don't, I remember reading them now that I'm thinking about them, but I don't remember them actively all the time. They're just not books I recall, but they definitely, I can see the beginnings of even what I'm reading now, and like the shape of myself as a reader today from these books. And I think that's really cool. And I'm so grateful to past me. I'm so sorry for current me for shaking this fucking table, but I'm so grateful to past me for having collected this. Thank you. Thank you, past Sam. That was really nice of you to do for me, current Sam. Like I said, I'm not gonna keep these. I'm gonna keep them through editing in case I need them. And I think I'm gonna add everything that I read that I have, you know, listed into my story graph, because that's kind of fun. But otherwise, I don't need this So I'm getting rid of it. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Do you remember any of these books? Did you read any of these books? Oh my god, can we talk about some of them? Not all of them, but like some of them. Like that era of YA publishing was something else, and that was like heyday, and we'll never see that again. That was like quite the time to be a teenager reading, I do have to say. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around. I would love it if you subscribed. I love you anyways, and bye.